The One Tough Mother Podcast. The One Tough Mother Show is real talk with special guests including industry leaders, celebrities, and amazing women who've overcome adversities to work their way to the top and are willing to share their real life lessons. Remember, you don't have to be a mother to be one tough mother. It's all about you.
And we're here. Hi, welcome to the One Tough Mother Show. We're excited that you're here with us again this week. And it's been a really crazy week. I got a lot of stuff going on as always, and so does Seth. How was your Easter, Seth?
Oh, it was good. I told you last time that my 10-year-old was playing cello with the church orchestra.
That's cool, yeah.
And so we thought he was going to practice on Sunday morning. It was actually, he had to play at church. We didn't know.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah. No, we didn't know either.
They just kind of like threw it at him.
We got to church and he was up there he's playing with the band. But good thing he practiced. And he did great. I have video of it. It's really cool.
Oh, that is really, really cool. I think that's nice.
Yeah, he sat in with the orchestra and played. And it was really nice.
Did they ask him now to come to practice? It's like, hey, kid, just step in every Sunday.
No, because they only do the orchestra like a couple times a year.
Oh.
So it just happened to be Easter and Christmas. So. Their cellist disappeared, so he stepped in. Yeah, it was great. It's a great experience for him, and he's going to have his spring concert coming up, so it's cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
And also, we did a little Easter egg hunt around the house. Outside the house, I hid the eggs, and they were my daughter was sleeping, so she missed out, and she forgot about it, which is good.
Right.
But yeah, I have video of my son. He found the tough one in the gutter.
There's the old good one.
But I made the mistake. I bought these eggs. They're Paw Patrol eggs. I was like, okay, they have candy in them. Worst candy ever. It's disgusting.
Oh, dude, that's
why
they put it in
my son loves it.
eggs.
I was like, you can eat one, and then I'm throwing out the rest. I was like, where's the chocolate? I was like, oh, God. I totally blew it, but they had fun, and it was good.
Yeah, we had a big Easter egg hunt. We usually do. We have, I think we put out, I'm just counting in my mind, I think we put out over 80 eggs.
Wow.
So my oldest grandsons, now that they're like 10 and 12, actually,
where's the money?
Exactly. So it's dollar bills, and then the big prize egg that I make sure my three sons hide like really hard, is a $5. And then my little grandchildren, I did pennies, dimes, and nickels because they like putting them in their bags. But it's so funny because the ones that so the oldest grandkids get 20 eggs. Then the rest all go to the little kids. And you see them pick up the eggs without the money. And they know the difference.
Of
At
course.
like 2 to 4, they pick them up. They're like, And they go to the next. Yeah. It was fun, though. We had a great time. It was actually sunny, which was like a total and complete shock because we haven't had any sunny weather. So.
That's true.
Yeah, I was really super excited about it. And, it was fun. Mail manager mom had her usual good time, cooked up a storm. So it was a fun time with the family.
You remind me of my son used to call it Pinky Bank.
Pinky Bank.
Pinky Bank.
Oh, that's cute.
And I took them roller skating, too, yesterday.
Oh, we did?
The boys, yeah.
Dude, I would have gone with you. I have my own skates.
Yeah, I don't want to be seen with you
I didn't
outside
think you did,
of here.
you son of a bitch. Anyway.
But it's great. I was skating behind my 4-year-old, and I was like picking him, like not letting him fall, and I realized, he has to fall.
Yeah,
you can't learn how to roller skate. You have to fall. So
You
I just
have
let him
to.
start falling, and he actually likes falling. He's like, oh, cool. I got himself back up, and he got some balance going, so it was good.
Do you ice skate?
A little bit. I mostly was a roller skater, rollerblader.
I roller skate, and my sister and I were huge ice skaters. So when it comes to ice skating, I'll go with you.
You just reminded me, my daughter's name is Talia, so she always says, I Talia, so I can't only think about that movie, I Tanya. She just walks around saying, I Talia.
I Talia.
I said, just don't hit anybody in the leg with a stick. Yeah.
She is a wild thing.
A
She will
little
be
bit.
doing that as well.
Yes, probably.
Oh, wow. So everything was good. We have a great guest. And this woman, she is so awesome. She flew all the way in from Minnesota. Not just for us, I'm sure, but still. It's
Big
pretty,
sky country.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed.
beautiful out
You
there.
come in from another place to see us. That's pretty cool. Get that, everybody? We're cool. Anyway, today's guest is an incredible woman, and she has an incredible story. Dr. Shannon Klingman is an obstetrician gynecologist from Minnesota who is shifting the narrative on how and why people stink. Yes, ma'am, or yes, sir.
Okay.
As the founder and inventor of Lume, an all-natural aluminum-free deodorant, Dr. Klingman discovered an outstanding odor control product that solves odor control. Cut this in. That solves odor concerns below the waist, and also an extremely effective underarm deodorant. It's with excitement and pleasure, and we're so happy to welcome, and we hope you love New York, Dr. Shannon Klingman. Yeah, and I hit myself with a mic on that one. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. You guys are so warm here.
Really?
Warm-hearted.
Just us?
Yeah, I think this is the warmth pod of New York City.
It's just our on-air persona. So,
Yeah, we're not really.
I'm kidding.
Wait until we get outside of here. So, what do you think of New York so far?
We're really enjoying it. The people have been very nice, and the coffee's good, and the bagels are even better than Minnesota.
It's the water.
Yeah.
Dude, they always say it's the water in New York. Did you have pizza yet?
And after that, not yet, but that's on the list. Maybe tonight we'll have pizza.
You need pizza.
Yeah.
Pizza is a need here. And in fact, my mom's always like, bring a pizza home from the city. But by the time you get it home, it tastes like you got it out of a box. So,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So let's talk about you and what you do. So you're an OBGYN doctor, which is an obstetrician gynecologist, and you're married to an OBGYN doctor, which is an obstetrician gynecologist.
Yeah.
And so you really do know what it's like. What made you start this journey? What made this whole deodorant smell product? How'd you get started on it?
Well, you know how something gets in your mind and it bothers you and it won't leave you alone.
Absolutely, Seth.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Ouch.
So I got into, I was in my residency training, and I recognized that, women are coming in with complaints of odor, no matter what the reason was for the visit, whether it was just their annual pap smear or sometimes an OB visit or a bladder infection. But they would often bring up, sometimes I notice like I'm a little funky from time to time, a little odor. Maybe I have an infection. I don't know. Have a new partner, and you test them, and it's a really imperfect way to try and get at what's going on when the testing that we do is so absolutely imperfect. And it bothered me, and I would say, do you guys ever feel like we're just randomly treating every woman with odor with antibiotics and just it goes away, but none of the lab tests really confirm it?
Right.
And so carried on with my training, go see 10 more patients. You got another patient waiting, and so you just continue to see patients, and that frustration started to build, and you start to accept it like, I guess this is just the way it is. Because in my training, nobody questioned it. And then I got into private practice, and I thought, okay, enough. I'm noticing that time after time, women have said they've been treated for conditions like bacterial vaginosis in the past, and yet they're saying it comes up every 6 weeks, I'm noticing it again, or around my period, or when I work out, or I have a new sexual partner. I notice this odor, and it comes up from time to time, and my doctor gives me antibiotics, but it always seems to come back. So fast forward now, my husband and I are trying to have a baby, and we're having frequent intercourse, and I mean frequent because, we're OBGYNs. We know how to get it done. So I was post-call, up all night, hadn't showered, sat down to go to the bathroom, and I noticed that odor that women complain of, and I thought, do I have bacterial vaginosis?
Oh, yeah, I'm a doctor.
I think I have this, So because that odor was so familiar. And then I did some checking around, and I realized that this odor was all external. The vagina was fine. It was not a vaginal odor. It was all external. And then I came home and said to my husband, I think the reason BV is such a pain in the butt diagnosis for women, that they just can't seem to shake it once they're given that diagnosis, is because this odor happens very commonly with day-to-day activities we engage in, like intercourse or working out or with our periods or not showering. And this is an external odor. What would it take to prove that? And it's like, nobody's ever talked like that before.
Right.
So we hired a lab to help us out, and we discovered that those odors that women experience in day-to-day life are indistinguishable from the odors that women get when they have an actual vaginal infection.
Oh.
So it's no wonder doctors are overdiagnosing this condition.
Right.
So then I thought, okay, so if it's an external process, nobody's talking like this. I would talk to my partners about it, other OBGYNs, and they would say, like, well, yeah, but that's not what it is, though, because it's that kind of fishy odor that smells like BV. And so what I decided was, well, there's an external solution for this if there's, an external problem. So I created one and went through all the process of testing and developing all that, and then determined that Lume blocks that odor reaction 100%. For these types of odors that happen basically between our butt cheeks, if I can be so frank.
Right. So
Yeah.
wait a minute. How do you create that? I mean, how do you start that process?
So with a lot of self-discovery, I think it all started with being raised by a woman who was an RN. We talked about anything. I was very comfortable with my body,
Right.
checking it out. Then I'm a gynecology resident, so
Right.
I'm living it every day, and I'm also a woman, very comfortable. So it was a lot. It was just some self-discovery and some checking around and really getting to know, where are these odors coming from? You don't even want to know.
Right.
How I know.
You know what? I'm looking at her thinking, don't say anymore.
Stop right there.
Yeah. So, okay. So how did you know what was going to block it?
So what I looked at was the type of odor molecule that's formed. It's a long word called trimethylamine.
Okay.
TMA. And there's other conditions where trimethylamine is formed, and one of them is in individuals with metabolic conditions where they can't metabolize certain proteins. And when those proteins reach the large bowel, anaerobic bacteria in our larger bowel, the stinky part of our guts, digest those proteins. They release this molecule called trimethylamine. So I looked at the chemistry of how the bacteria actually interact with these proteins that are found in semen, blood, the nitrogen containing things in urine, sweat, and how bacteria digest that and what's necessary. And I created a hostile environment for it with my product. So the bacteria are there and the bodily fluids are still there, but they don't dance together and odor doesn't form.
Oh, that's awesome.
So looking at it that way,
Yeah,
it's a little different.
But how did you know what chemical to use?
So it went to my kitchen, and I started just looking around with some things in the kitchen. And the first rough draft of Lume basically burned my skin, but it solved the odor problem.
Oh, wow.
So then I worked with formularies, and we take that reaction between bacteria and bodily fluids. We knew that it needed to block that reaction. It also needed to be safe for the skin. And so I consulted with a friend of mine about it, and he said, you need to write a patent and you need to get in touch with some people who can help you formulate this. And so that's what I did. And without giving away any trade secrets.
Of course.
Yeah. Lume is very innovative, and we think about odor in a whole different way. We're not thinking about end odor. Like products they'll solve body odor, underarm odor, and they're masking it or covering it up with fragrance, or they'll neutralize odor after it happens.
Right.
People will focus on foot odor. That odor molecule is different from what forms in our underarms. Odor molecules that form in different parts of our body are different. But by taking that reaction back to the bacterial level and inhibiting how they lunch or metabolize these fluids that lead to odor, we were able to solve odor anywhere on your body. So
so Shannon, this is all natural, right? You got this from your kitchen.
I got it from my kitchen, and there's things in it that when we started off, I didn't need to have aluminum in it. It never even occurred to me to put aluminum in it because I was solving odor below the belt. And so when we had it clinically tested and we discovered that it was also a superior odor control product for underarms, we thought, okay, so what do we need to do to make it an appealing formula? I don't want it to stain my clothes.
Right.
It's got to wash out.
Right.
I don't want heavily scented fragrance oil cover-ups.
Right.
Don't want, so there were some things, some pain points and some things that I wanted to have for myself because I'm a stinker and I'm a major sweater. And so I needed to have a formula that was appealing to me in that way. And it just ended up, we started off like, should we do an underarm product and a feminine hygiene product and a foot product? But then it ended up, it was the same formula.
Oh,
so
wow.
There's no reason to split it out.
That is incredible. And actually, she sent it to me, Seth, and I've been using it for 2 weeks, just so you know.
Oh, thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. It's incredible. It really is.
Thank you.
At first, I thought, I don't know. Then by like day 3, I was like, holy cow. This is working out. Now, the one thing is, people say, well, because I've been telling everybody, do you sweat? Yeah, you're going to sweat.
Right.
But you're not going to smell like sweat at all. So it really does work. So there's a component in all these natural ingredients that is actually blocking the odor, or it's actually just dispersing the odor. Like you don't even have the odor to block.
So the odor never forms.
Yeah.
So the odor is something that people have been trying to solve this, and I think that the reason we have been so successful is because more women are getting into leadership positions and they're looking at things through a different lens. We will, I think, find in all industries that our problem-solving abilities will improve.
I think it's incredible. It really is.
Because as women are, we go to the gynecologist. Who else, has their feet in stirrups with their knees apart and their bottom right in the face of a doctor
Right.
3 feet away? And so you're thinking, if men had to go through that, I think this problem would have been solved back in 1850.
Right,
You know, right.
And you know what? Who would know odor better than you guys, than doctors,
That's
especially
right.
gynos? Like, that's what I thought of when I saw it. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. But you know what? Now that you're saying that, since 1850, you told me that nothing has changed in the deodorant smell since 1850.
Well, it started, the whole feminine hygiene industry really started in the late 1800s with a product called Lysol.
Believe it? Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It is true.
That's probably some guy's idea.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Put
That
this
is
Lysol
true.
on.
So, well, not even on, up, inside, douching.
What?
They were using Lysol for douching, and women died and were poisoned by it.
God.
They marketed these like torture machines that you kept in your next to your bathroom like a toilet bowl cleaner, and it was a douching pump, like a butter churn.
God.
You increase the pressure and it wasn't a good scene. And then when women started having problems with it, they decided that they should be recommending you dilute it out.
Oh.
So yeah. But the ads they took out were like, Debbie was a wonderful housemaker and mother, and she was a wonderful cook, but she neglected her vaginal hygiene, and so now her husband must leave. So he's like walking out the door with a briefcase, So
I wrote that. No, I know. It's funny as heck.
So it started that way, and then the products that have since followed still continue with that same narrative of vaginal odor, vaginal concerns, or feminine odor. And they've made it portable. They've made it something that is maybe a lot less toxic, but still wrong nonetheless. Because a great study came out in 2007, I think you'll find interesting, where there was a group of women that had vaginal complaints, and they were blindly given off to doctors where doctors didn't get to see them, but it was a complaint of odor or itching. And a sample of their vaginal discharge was given, and the doctors evaluated it. Doctors overdiagnosed bacterial vaginosis 61% of the time, and they overdiagnosed yeast infections in the vagina 73% of the time.
Holy cow.
So we know that doctors are overdiagnosing, and we know that they are wrong more than they're right. And so fell right in line with my suspicion of, is this an external process? And then if it is, which we proved that it is, can I develop something to solve that, which we did? And then through clinical testing, discovering you can use it anywhere on your body makes it appealing for men and women. But the thing that I love is that it's changing the narrative on feminine hygiene for women.
Absolutely. That's bizarre. And you know what? I went on your site, and you have some really, really powerful testimonial letters on there. There was one that I thought was pretty interesting. She was like, I've had this problem since I was 14. I actually wanted to commit suicide because I was bullied so much having this problem, and that your product worked. That has to make you feel like amazing.
It makes me feel like there's a reason that I went to medical school. And I enjoyed private practice a lot. But I think I'm 48 years old and think, man, I'm old. When you compare yourself to these young kids in their mid-20s, while I still feel like them and I can talk to them and stuff, I think there's no way at 25 I would have ever had the life experience, the wisdom, the confidence to be able to do what I'm doing now. And so when I hear from these women, I think they're talking to me.
Right.
They're talking about me. I see myself in them. I struggled myself with body odor and finding products that worked. And I felt like I went between really strong BO to products that I would use where you get like that, floral or baby powder ocean breeze mixed with BO in your clothing, and had the stains in my underarms, and so I can identify with them. And so when I hear from them, it makes me feel like I'm doing a good work.
Right. And you know what's funny too, because when my using it, I noticed you don't smell it after an hour or two, right?
No, we are fragrance oil free, so there's nothing permanent there.
Right.
The essential oils that we use are lavender and clary sage, and it fades within an hour.
Yeah.
And
it's
pretty
gone.
much goes to nothing. Yes.
Which I like, because I'd rather have like my body lotion or something else have this scent than like some heavy underarm thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is, a lot of my friends have breast cancer, and I'm going to say almost every one of my friends either is getting over it, had it, or is, in the process of treatment. And they all question the aluminum in deodorant for blocking, any kind of underarm, blocking sweat. Your lymph nodes are there. Is that, do you think that makes sense?
I think that there probably is an element to that, even though the studies have all shown that there is no causal link. I think it's like many things. There has to be a genetic predisposition, and we don't know. What does aluminum do on the gene level for people who may already have a predisposition? And so my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer when she was 40, and you get really straight right away with what you're putting on the largest organ of your body, which is your skin.
Right.
And while that's not the reason I developed it, I didn't avoid aluminum because of breast cancer. I just developed this product, and it just happened to be aluminum free, which is what people are looking for.
Right.
But as an OBGYN, I do think that it is not a good idea to put a heavy metal on your skin every day.
Right.
So I was sweating past the aluminum anyway. I still had big baloney
I'm a
wet
sweater
marks.
too, because I work out all the time. So when you work out and you do a lot of stuff, your body automatically, when you start walking or doing anything, starts metabolizing.
Right.
So and people are like, well, am I going to sweat when I wear it? Yeah, but guess what, my friend? Your body's made to sweat for a reason.
Right.
And I don't understand why people don't get that. It's like, you breathe in and out. Okay. The bad stuff's coming out. So I'm like, you need to sweat. Your body needs to sweat.
Yeah, right.
And they don't like that.
And once you get comfortable with that, where the perspiration's there, like sweat happens, but odor doesn't have to, is what I tell myself, is that I stunk no matter what. And when I was the medical expert in Minneapolis for one of the TV stations there, I would get off the air and I literally would have like an 8-inch ring under my pit, and I'd be like, I'm using a clinical strength antiperspirant here, and nothing's cutting this, you know? So I thought, I'm wrecking my clothes with the aluminum, and so this is a good thing. So when I started using the feminine hygiene product that I developed on my underarms before we had it tested, I'm saying, is this possible that this water-based cream that's basically a lotion is eliminating odor for me? And it was. But my clothes didn't stink, and I didn't have those yellow marks, and it was good. So for me, it's a win. I like the total body odor control aspect of it, and I love that it's a lotion and it's virtually undetectable after you rub it into your skin. And
I think it's awesome, and the fact that you invented it as for below the belt, basically.
Yeah. And
then you went to the underarms. Then I read the story, or I saw the story about Marin. And let me tell you something. Nothing really makes me cry. I'm tough as nails, damn it. But shut up, Seth. But Marin's mother, like at the end, I was really choked up because I would be devastated if my kid was getting bullied or felt left out. Or explain to our audience a little bit about Marin's story.
So we launched Lume in October of 2017. So we've just been on the market a little over 6 months. And I got a phone call about 3 weeks into our launch time from a mother. Actually, it was a Facebook message that I initially got saying that you are really onto something here. That she's not writing me this on behalf of herself, although she did try it and she loved it and she knows that it worked for her. She has a 5-year-old little girl named Marin who has a very rare metabolic condition called propionic acidemia. And the condition is so rare that she gets involved in these case studies with the National Institutes of Health, and she oftentimes is having to volunteer her daughter up for clinical studies and for trying new testing and looking for a cure. And there's a lot of metabolic conditions similar to Marin's, but in Marin's case, it was so rare. There was she was one of 2 people in the country that had it.
Wow.
And so, but the side effect for these individuals of a medication that they have to take to prolong their life called L-carnitine is that they smell like rotten fish. And Marin was diagnosed when she was just 2 weeks old. They picked it up on a newborn screen. So the life expectancy for her, had it not been picked up, would have been 5 to 6. But because it was detected with a newborn screen, the ability to intervene early on got treatment on board really quickly. And so they started the L-carnitine, and from that moment, she started to smell like fish. And she's like, her mom, Honey, said, you can imagine you bring your new baby over to meet family, or the friends see her at Target, and it's like, oh, your baby. And then they kind of, oh, here you go. And they give her back, or they don't want to hold her.
How sad is that?
And then growing up, it meant the healthier she was, the more carnitine she needed, and so the more odor that they noticed. And she was concerned for her future, but she was just so grateful that she was healthy. And when she put her into school, in kindergarten, the kids were all nice, and the teacher was nice, and they were excited to have her, and Marin was really glad to be in school, and Honey was over the moon to have her in school because she was now 5 years old, and she was approaching that age where a lot of families lose their children, but Marin's future looked really bright.
Right.
And she had a teacher that then commented to her that while they loved Marin, and she was just recently, confirmed to be pregnant, and she struggled with the odor and didn't know if she was going to be able to have her in her classroom anymore.
Right.
And to watch that and to have children say, "Can you go sit over here? Can you not sit by me?" Was really difficult for her. And they tried Lume after seeing us on an ad. Somebody had posted that their daughter had a rare metabolic condition, and they discovered Lume, and it worked. And I knew nothing about this, but Marin saw it, tried it, or Honey saw it and tried it on her daughter Marin, and she said, and she's been odor-free with one application for 3 days.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That must make you feel so good.
Right.
Marin is my testimony to being worth it.
Right.
She's because what was so remarkable to me was that it was the science that causes the odor for Marin that I used to develop Lume, that fishy odor, that
Right.
trimethylamine, which doesn't have anything to do with underarm odor. This is a different odor reaction. And so the fact that she was able to use it made me feel like, wow, this was bigger than me. This little seed that got planted,
It's
20 years
amazing.
ago that now is here.
Wow, she rocks, Seth, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, we don't have that big a brain.
I do have a question, though. Going back, you mentioned that yeast infections are misdiagnosed like 73% of the time. How is that laziness, or is it getting a false positive? I mean, I'm just curious.
I think that sometimes the assumption is everything that itches is yeast and everything that smells is BV or bacterial vaginosis. And then there's these criteria that we use. But if a woman comes in complaining of itch and discharge, she's going to be diagnosed with yeast vaginitis more times than not, whether she has it or not. And I think that it requires doctors to put a little bit of discharge on a microscope, maybe send off some tests, think beyond what's common, and that it's easiest to go with what's easiest.
Right.
And that's the yeast story. With bacterial vaginosis, we use criteria to diagnose that. And there's, 5 different criteria, and there's a lot of things that will give it a false positive, like a high pH can happen in post or perimenopausal women. A high vaginal discharge pH can happen with periods. It happens after intercourse. And so you already have exposure and reasons why doctors would get this wrong. And then when they smell that characteristic slight fishy odor, they think, oh, it's BV.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they're busy. It makes a lot of sense. Okay, here's my next question. So now her husband and her are both doctors. So this is a walk in the park for you guys, right? I mean, this costs you nothing. You walked in your kitchen, you whip this crap up, everything's good, life is good.
It's not crap, Karen.
All right, whip this. You're right, it's not. I use it, actually. It's good stuff. You whip it up and everything's good, right? It was nothing, right?
Mm-hmm. I think if it was easy, everybody would do it. I think it would have been around back, instead of Lysol, they would have had something like Lume back then, right?
So it's cost you a lot in your family.
Yeah, my husband and I really have, I feel hesitant to say it out loud, but we've risked everything on this. It's not inexpensive to file for patents. We have 2 patents that have been granted, utility patents, and we have a 3rd one pending, and we have other products in the pipeline and different applications that we're working on patenting for. And then just formulating it, all the trial and error, the people you trust that take advantage of you.
Absolutely.
And they sucker punch you.
Absolutely. In the throat.
Yeah, right in the throat.
Right.
Yeah. And you have a decision to make. Do I give up now, or do I keep going? And every time we stand up and we keep going, because we believe in it.
Right, and it's amazing how much you do put into something. People think that, oh, well, you being doctors, well, they have a disposable income. They can just throw so much money behind it, blah, 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 blah. They don't understand patents. Not only is a patent very, very expensive, but then you have to fight a lot of times for your patent. So then there's attorney fees involved. Like, I've been through this whole process because of my previous job, so I know how much it can cost to get a patent.
Thankfully, I surrounded myself with really great people, and I was able to find a patent writer that used to work for Kimberly-Clark. He worked for Kimberly-Clark for 25 years, I believe. And that's what I did. I looked and I saw, who's writing all the patents on feminine hygiene? Who's this Jeff Lindsay guy? And I want him.
Right.
And so we contacted him and got in touch with him, and we're still friends and partners, and he's still doing the writing for us now.
Oh, that's awesome. But you know what, Shannon, in the meantime, this has been 11 years, right?
11 years since we really started. You know, we're talking idea back in residency, but 11 years ago, we took our first step off the curb.
Right, but you still had life going on, right? Tell us a little bit about like what was happening. You were having kids and married and jobs. Tell us about your life.
So my husband and I had the idea for Lume. You know, I had it. I take all the credit years ago because I'm the one with the vagina, right?
I like that, yes.
So then when we took a step off the curb 11 years ago, it really was trusting somebody to help guide us. That's when we started the patent writing process, which it's not just a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, tell me your story and let's file and it's all done.
Right.
There's a lot of language that needs to be used, and you need to cover your bases in order to protect this idea. And we brought some investors on board that really took advantage of us. And thankfully, I mean, it cost us money, but we were able to move past it. Right. And I think that because we weren't financially destroyed by that, we were able to save up, and we risked a lot, but then we're able to finance the process again. So now we're on phase 2. And you go through rejections with patents, and you need to change your claims and such, but our patent writer just kept fighting for it. And then he had to move to China and wasn't able to work with us again, and so I had to find another patent writer who kind of screwed it all up for us, and we got a final rejection. Thankfully, he found out about it in China and got special dispensation from his employer over in Shanghai, and they said, okay, go ahead and mop up this mess for this family because, yeah, go ahead and, you know, you started it, now finish it. And that he got permission to do that, and he did. He stepped right in and worked quickly and got us back on track. And then we were getting 2 and 3 rejections. And when you get a rejection, they're saying there's somebody out there who already has a similar idea or application. Correct. So while you can manufacture it and use it, you're not protected. And so he challenged that and said, no, we're not changing our claims. These arguments are incorrect, and just kept fighting for it, and then got a hard final rejection. And I said, okay, then we're done. And the reason I really felt like life goes on, my husband and I have Julia and Jonah, our little grade schoolers, and then we had a daughter, Amy. And
take your time.
I had quit practice when my youngest son, who's now 9, soon to be 10 next week. We decided, my husband and I were both OBGYNs, and we were so busy with practice that somebody needed to take one for the team and be available at home to dock the boat, and that was me. So after Jonah was a year old, I quit practice and was home, always knowing that we were working on this project, waiting for patents and such, and not giving up. But it would have been foolish to launch it without the patent protection. And during that time, I became pregnant with my 4th child, and we found out that we were having a little girl when she was 12 weeks along in pregnancy, and her genetics testing came back that she had trisomy 21. And I always felt like, as a little girl, I had neighbors with kids with Down syndrome, and I was like mother's helpers for them and would go and play with them while their moms did laundry or ran to the grocery store. And I really have had a heart for individuals with special needs.
Right.
And it seemed like I was just always finding my way into the homes and families of people who had kids with Down syndrome. And so when people would say, God doesn't hand you anything more than what you can handle, I mean, this is even in junior high and high school, I would get a whisper in my ear that would say, you're going to have a baby with Down syndrome.
That's crazy.
I'm not kidding you.
I believe you, absolutely.
Yeah. And so when I found out that Amy had Down syndrome, I thought, well, this is it. Okay, here we go, game on.
Right.
And from the moment, I thought, who better? I am my heart is ready, right, and I want to raise her. Right. I cannot wait. And I just worried about her health and safety during the pregnancy. And my pregnancy was very uneventful. I was healthy. She was healthy. She had a normal heart. She had very little signs at all that even showed that she had Down syndrome. I was far more worried than my doctors, is what I will say. I was over the top concerned that something bad was going to happen, and they were so laid back about it that it made me feel uncomfortable to bring it up again. They'd be like, Shannon, you're the lowest risk of all the high-risk pregnancies we have. You need to relax. You're not the doctor here. You're not in charge. Right. And so when Amy was born, and then this is how it happened. I was at home, and I noticed that I was having contractions, and I was so excited for her. They were coming like maybe every 20 minutes and very mild, but I started the nesting, packing the bag, and I'm thinking, oh, my goodness, she's coming any day. It was full term, and I think today's the day. And that night I said to my husband, I'm having contractions. And he said, no, you're not in labor. I said, no, I'm tolerating them because I'm one tough mother.
Right.
I'm not complaining, but I'm having them, And so I listened to her heart tones with a Doppler and the baby monitor and contraction, and I noticed her heartbeat dropped. And then we listened to it again. And so he rushed me to the hospital and made a phone call on his way there and said, I'm bringing my wife in. I'm an OBGYN, and I need whoever else is on call to come in. And they delivered me by stat C-section. And she ended up in the neonatal intensive care unit and just didn't tolerate labor. And we got to the high risk. They sent her down to Children's, the high risk hospital there, where she could be at the NICU and be monitored more closely. But unfortunately, she just didn't recover. And she didn't tolerate labor. She didn't tolerate contractions because I just had testing not long before then, and she was doing great.
Right.
So after I lost Amy, she was 2 days old. I wanted to die.
Right.
It hurt to breathe. I don't know if you know that feeling, the joy you feel of holding your newborn baby, but the total opposite of that is losing them, and that you make noises in grief that you never have ever heard yourself make before, and your life is never going to be the same again. But yet your kids are still saying, Mom, I need a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Right.
Right. And you still got to bathe them. Yep. Their toenails still need trimming, and you're still going through life that way. And so I thought I was just working on breathing day to day. And then we got our final rejection for Lume, and I said to my patent writer, I'm done. We've been working on this for 8 years now, I think it was at the time. And about 3 years of it was patent arguments. And I just said, we're done. I'm glad that you think it's a great idea, and I think it's a great idea too, and it's a great product, but I just don't have it in me. And he said, I'm going to call you back in 5 days, if it's okay with you, ask you to think about it. So in 5 days, he called me and he said, I'm going to do this because I believe in you, and I'm going to do it pro bono, and I'm going to fight for this because it's not very often in this industry of the Procters & Gambles and the Unilevers of the world where you see a one-off inventor funding their own progress, their own product and the process, and comes up with something so innovative that it would have taken some other company, a team of 100, and 15 years to do with all the research and development, and you've just been able to do this on your own. It's quite impressive. And so with all due respect, I'm going to not honor your decision to not pursue it, and I'm going to fight harder. So that's what he did. And he got me a phone call with the USPTO office, the trade office,
that's amazing
patent
in
office.
itself, right?
They get on the phone with me and they asked me a lot of questions, and at the end they said, congratulations, we're going to give you your claims.
Amazing.
Wow.
So we had our first patent, and then the second one came about a year later, and that was about 2 years ago. And so now we've been just working really hard. I've been full-time at this now since it was a year in February.
I'm so impressed.
It's still frustrating too, though, right? What's the holdup? If you have, what is it? Are there legitimate claims, or you just have to nag these people and to?
I think first of all, there's an idea now in the patent office that maybe nothing new is out there, so it's very difficult to convince them that you have anything unique and novel, and it's an uphill battle. But
that's terrible.
But in the meantime, through
I'm
all
so
of
glad,
this,
I'm so glad you got through it.
I'm so
Thank
glad
you.
he really pushed for you. There are good people in the world, thank God. But in the meantime, through all of this, life is going on. You got a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your little girl.
So then my husband and I decided that after Amy, we were going to make our world just really small. And because people thought you're better now, right? Instead of 6 months ago, you lost your daughter, you're good, you know? And I was selling soap at the time. I was an artisan soap maker and making lip balms and shea butter whips and lotions and stuff, literally in like this small studio within my house. And I was selling to Whole Foods and stuff, but it was very small, very cottage industry, farmer's market type stuff. And so I had been neglecting that through my grief. I thought I'm going to be done with that too. I was just trying to figure out how to round it out and finish. And I got asked to participate in an event at one of the co-ops locally where I live. And I really didn't want to do it because I couldn't even stand to hardly talk to people, because even the question, how are you doing? I was like, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Even to just say, oh, I'm good, just seemed like somehow I was betraying my daughter, because I wasn't good, but yet we give these use these platitudes. So I walked in with all my soap and I set up my display, and there was a person who called in sick, and they lost their greeter at the front, and I said, well, I'll do it. And I thought, wow, I actually volunteered for that. I'm doing pretty good. So I set up the table, my soap, and I was really interacting with people, and I laughed at something that someone said. And that laugh, in that moment, I heard, and my voice to myself was, there she is. She's back. And I went home to my husband and I said, I did this event today, and I'm so grateful that I did, because for the first time in a year, I'm seeing in color, and I want to live, and I see forward. And he said, okay, well, hold on to your boots and saddle, because there's a little girl that there's a family that has a baby that they want to place for adoption, and they want to talk to us about adopting her. And so I went into the hospital and I met the family, and the family was awesome. It was this great connection that we had, and we adopted their little girl. We didn't know if it was a girl or a boy. We didn't know if she was healthy or not, and we didn't care. We just wanted to raise a child, and we wanted more children, and we felt very blessed that day. I think that the angels were shining down on us that day.
The whole way.
Mm-hmm.
The whole way. That's amazing.
It was a win-win. I couldn't say enough about our youngest daughter's birth family, the connection that we had, and just the sheer, just blessed event that it was. And it just felt right.
It's amazing. You're an amazing, amazing person. I just think that your story is amazing. I think everything you've done amazing. And I think the fact that you're handling stink is just amazing.
I'm bringing confidence back, babe. Yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness. But I think it's just, I loved Marin's story. Like I said, it was so heartbreaking to me that a little girl would be bullied over anything like this. And then the older woman, or the girl that said she was been bullied since 14. I can see it, absolutely, without a doubt, because in the workplace, there's always somebody that you're like, oh my God, he smells, right?
That's the hard one to get past.
It is. Yeah. It's for some reason, like, smell is like so like offensive, because you can't get away from it, I guess.
I feel like something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's bad stigma.
Yeah. So how's it selling? Tell us about how it's going.
So sales are good. We launched in October. We're still very self-funded. We've not taken out any loans. We don't have outside investors. And so our sales are good enough that we're funding the growth. And I auditioned for Shark Tank in January. They did not call me back, by the way.
Well, they're foolish.
That's what I thought for sure. It went well. The pitch was perfect. They were like, great story. We're talking to the Home Shopping Network about going on there later in the summer. So some really exciting things are happening. The concept of Lume resonates with women, but 1/3 of our customers are men. So I know that they're hearing this message too. They want natural for their underarms.
Right.
And they don't want their boys to smell either.
Whoa.
I'm into it. I want to try it.
Yeah.
I love the name. I love the packaging too. I went on the website. It looks great.
What is the name?
The name is Lume.
Why?
Lume deodorant Lume just came because you have to come up with something that's not already trademarked and looks nice on a label. So it means luminous. So it's the luminous, the brightest part of you, and confidence that follows from that. But the private parts were Lume deodorant for underarms and private parts. I'm a huge Howard Stern fan.
Me too.
I love Howard Stern. I'm one of those girls that I can handle that talk. And then when I see him on other shows, and I've been a fan since the 90s, and all through college, listened to him.
When I worked with Stern, she was her fan.
And I loved Robin, and I felt like, when that movie came out, Private Parts, that he did, I knew that it really wasn't about, our private parts, like genitals, right? Can you say that?
You can say it.
Yeah, okay.
Oh.
It was the private aspects of his life, and that he really is he comes across as a tough guy, but he's really a softie and has a big heart, and I don't know, I just kind of see through that, and I'd love to meet him someday.
Oh my gosh, we'll have to try to arrange that, won't we? So she can meet Howard and Robin or something. It would be a lot of fun. You'd be surprised. He's an okay
They
guy.
used to make fun of and talk about vaginosis on the show.
See, so what I'm
All
saying
the
is we're
time.
changing the narrative on feminine hygiene. A lot of jokes have been cracked at the expense of women, and I think, okay, I can roll with that. The odor's there, yes, but we're going to school you on where it really comes from, and guess what? You have it too. Because he used to talk about that. He used to talk about that on his radio program, that like, I'm so hairy down there. I just feel like I don't get clean. I mean, you take a shower and I still smell.
Yep.
And it used to say something like, we need a product that's called ass don't smell. And I thought, Lume is that. So
There's a
I got to
morning,
get him a sample.
there's a morning show here that they put out a product called Junk Bomb.
There you
Oh gosh.
True story.
So where can you find it? Where can we get it?
So Lume is available on our website. It's LumeDeo.com. So LumeDeo.com. And it's available exclusively on our website right now. And so for right now, we're not planning on going into stores for the next year or so.
Okay, excellent.
It's Lume, correct?
LumeDeo.com.
Right, but the product too. I just Googled it and I found it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll have to get you some, Seth. Not that I say
Oh,
you don't
well, that's why I
say you
sit far away.
stink.
That's why I sit this far away from
sit
you.
over there.
Yeah.
Sit over there. I love it. I've tried it. I've been doing it for 2 weeks. I'm really happy with it, and it's seriously, I'm going to throw all the other deodorants away because I think it's a great product.
Thank you.
And so many of my girlfriends, like I said, have breast cancer or some kind of cancer or are battling something. So I'm definitely going to get it for them. I think it's amazing. I think you're amazing. Holy cow, I really like you.
I
Came
like
from
you, too.
Minnesota and everything. But we'll be back in just a moment, and we're going to do, we've got mails in and we've got news, and if you can hang, you're welcome to hang.
The One Tough Mother Podcast. Real talk with amazing women who have worked their way to the top and want to share their real life lessons with you.
And we're back, and we have the usual headlines and headaches, and we got tough brother Seth with him. But before we do, again, I want to thank you, Dr. Shannon Klingman and Lume. Is an amazing story. You're an amazing person, and it's an amazing product. So it's a win-win all the way around. Thank you so much for being here. And you're going to sit in with us, right?
Yes,
hang
I'm
out.
here,
Yeah, hang out and see
You
what's
don't have a
going on.
choice.
You don't have a choice. We make you.
We can't open
Doors
the door.
locked.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to leave. So, tough brother Seth, headlines and headaches.
Yes, you like watching TV? You're hired. Loving to watch TV and movies is finally a job requirement. Oh, where was this like 20 years ago when I could have used it?
Yeah, right. You've been on the couch for the rest of your life.
No, it would have been awesome. Netflix is looking for someone who possesses this skill to work as an editorial analyst. The catch is that in addition to binging on the streaming giant's content, you will have to summarize and rate it. You not only have to love binge watching, you would need at least 5 years of experience in the TV or film industry and be able to write with attention to detail. Still nice work if you can get it.
We got it, dude. Let's do this.
Oh my God, no.
Are
no.
you kidding? Come on, this
My
is
wife
us.
and
It's
I,
us.
we've a couple times binged a little bit, and we have 3 kids and one coming. And
No, but we can sit on the couch. Beer, wine, potato chips, all the good stuff.
You get the wrong guy.
All right, forget it.
Not
I
happening.
don't like you that much.
No, I used to watch a lot more TV. And
I don't.
I'm glad that I don't. But this would have been a dream job for me back in the day, for sure. But there are some great shows on Netflix too. I don't know if you have Netflix or use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Binging is the only way to do Netflix.
Well, but you can't help yourself.
That's right.
You know, but that was what's missing now is the beauty of TV back in the day was that anticipation of the next episode. You know, even like the Showtime
Something
and
to
HBO
look forward
shows.
to, yeah.
Like I love Billions. You know, and I can only really watch on my commute. That's the only time I can watch on my phone, and I look forward to it. But you know, I could wait, but I can't binge anyway. I don't have time to binge, but. There's something different about it. It's a different experience. And you know what happens also real quick? I don't want to stay on this too long, but I had back surgery years ago, and I was home for 3 weeks, and I binge watched shows. They get into your brain, and like in my dreams, like Friday Night Lights, dumbest show ever about high school football. Like I'm almost living this altered reality because I watched so much of that show in such a short period of time. it almost made me crazy.
You know what? I came from the industry, as you know, and here's what my thought process on this is. First of all, I don't watch television. I've not watched much television throughout my life because it was my industry.
Because you're better than me.
Because I'm better than you, and I watched it for numbers. Like I was looking for better buys or how to put product into shows. I mean, that was my whole goal at watching. But people, they watch TV to escape reality. I really believe that.
100%.
Yeah, right?
Right, yeah.
And they really do believe in like, oh my God, did you hear what so-and-so said to so-and-so on this? Like my daughters and my daughter-in-laws are so big on The Bachelor.
Oh, God.
Blah. And they'll be like, Ma, I really watched The Bachelor so you could talk about it with it. I don't want to talk about you with it.
And then you like grieve it. I remember the show Parenthood when it went off the air. I was like, I missed those guys. It was an illness.
Right?
Yeah. You kind of identify with them and, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not a good habit.
Yeah, so no, this is not a good job for us then. We're done with that. Okay, go to the next then, dude.
Okay, no, forget it. Sorry, Netflix, we're not coming.
We're not.
Student loans stifle home ownership.
Duh.
Student loans are keeping people from buying homes. Roughly 45 million Americans carry student loan debt. 45 million.
Yes.
Average borrower at least 30,000. CNBC reports this, citing data from Student Loan Hero. Over 80% of those aged 22 to 35 who haven't purchased a house cite student loans as a primary factor, per the National Association of Realtors. Many are denied mortgages because of their debt-to-income ratio. This is a problem.
This is huge.
I mean,
Four kids.
We could do a whole show on this.
All my kids have student loans. Well, I think my oldest son might have finished his, but 4 kids, like, totally, thank you, God, in every aspect that they came out and they had great jobs. But some of their friends, huge loans, no jobs. People I know that are really big in big industries are saying, yeah, I'm still carrying $50,000 in debt.
Yeah, and it's not like a $50 bill that you pay for the next 100 years. It's like a $1,500 a month for the next 5 years.
Yeah, you can't get a job and they want you to pay $1,500 a month.
You know, it's almost like, should kids go, if they can't afford it, should they go right to college? Maybe you do a trade or do something and then go to school at night, or you know, you might be better off doing it in a different way.
I don't believe in college as much anymore.
I don't either.
Because there's
You're
so
not
many,
alone.
Yeah, there's so many kids that
I believe
just
I believe in higher education, but you know, at what price?
Right.
There's ways around it if you want to be
Right.
creative. Let's be honest. You know, going to college is an experience. Also, it's not
Right.
just about the education. So I think that's the thing that people would miss the most. But you know, if you can't afford it, you know, why bury yourself for how many years? People 10, 15 years later are still paying that stuff off.
Oh, please. At least 10, 15 years later. I agree.
And if you want to go to law school or med school, or my friend go to chiropractor school, you're just adding another 4 years on top of it.
Oh,
I think my total bill,
There
student
you
loan
go.
bill,
With
is
doctor here.
yeah,
Yeah.
$170,000
Jesus.
for undergrad and med school.
And that's not, you didn't even live in it.
I didn't live there, right.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, at least with a law school or med school, there's like an expectation of making more money, but the average graduate, they have to go find a job in their industry and
Right.
start at the bottom.
Right. Yep. Well, I can see it. The country needs to fix this.
I started as a temp employee at my first company, making $8 an hour. After graduating college.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
It's crazy. All right, so sorry everybody. I don't know what to tell you. I played the lottery. I haven't won yet. All right. Could off-work email be banned? Yes, please. All right.
Yes.
Technology was supposed to make our work lives easier, but it turns out that many of us, it makes it even busier. Businesses can now hook workers around the clock almost every day of the year using messaging tools found on employees' phones. One New York City council member wants to put an end to it. According to CNN, Raphael Espinel, a council member from Brooklyn, introduced a bill last week that would make it illegal for businesses with more than 10 people to contact employees during off-work hours, including weekends and vacations. There's a lot of New Yorkers out there that don't know when their workday begins or when their workday ends because we're also tied to our phones. And tired, yes. He told a CNN affiliate businesses would receive small fines for contacting workers during off hours payable to workers themselves. What's your take on the proposed law? Join the conversation below. I don't agree with this. I got to say, as an employee, you got to be able to stake your ground. It's like, I have a family. I'm not going to be available this time. I'll help you when I can.
I agree with you, dude. But
Yeah.
what are you going to do when the guy's like, okay, look, I'm paying you this amount of money. I want, when I email you at 10:15 at night, answer me.
Tough noogies. I'm awesome, and you take me at when I can work, or find someone else.
Maybe sweeping the streets.
No. At a certain point, you have to value yourself and what you bring to the table. If you're only valuable to this company 24 hours a day, then it's not the right job for you. You're going to run yourself ragged into the ground. You're going to have a family. You're going to die at 58 years old. And for what? Because of this guy? Because you had to answer the beck and call of this guy? I'm sorry. As a doctor, stress is a killer. You're going to stress yourself out, like being available? No.
All right.
Sorry.
I agree that they shouldn't be able to contact you. I just have been in positions my whole life where they do.
But I'm saying you have to, as an employee, have to stand your ground,
right?
And respectfully, look, I have a family, I have kids, I got to make time for my family. I'm not gonna do it. Don't get me wrong, I'll get stuff done when it has to get done, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take time and make time for my family, block it out.
Right.
But unfortunately, that's the life world we live in too.
It is the world we live in. It's sad, but true.
But for people he's talking about, I don't know. I don't see people. I think you just have to be able to balance it yourself. And if there's a problem at home or your problem with stress, you have to recognize it and deal with it.
Right. Right.
All right, God, this is depressing today.
Oh,
the
stop!
Student
Just go
loans
on.
and
For goodness sake.
Schools battle new vaping device. Wow, the news just keeps getting better. Just as the rate of smoking among teens has dropped, the use of nicotine-heavy e-cigarettes is exploding. Well, that's kind of an oxymoron right there, isn't it?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Reports Wall Street Journal. Leading this trend is Juul, Juul, a potent and cleverly marketed vaping device that comes in a variety of fruity flavors. Super. Parents and schools are now the front line of an effort to prevent teens from using the product, the health implications of which are still not clear, says the journal. Juul's website claims that one of its pods equals about a pack of cigarettes worth of nicotine. They claim that. Wow, and they're like bragging about it?
Yeah.
While vaping is likely healthier than smoking tobacco, its health effects are not well understood, and some researchers think that's a gateway to smoking cigarettes. What's your take on vaping among teenagers? I'm not happy.
The whole how
Why
could
do you
they
have to
say
ask?
that? You're a doctor.
You ever seen somebody driving a small car vaping and they roll down the window? It looks like Cheech and Chong, and there's like, coming out all the windows. But I don't see how they can get away marketing it fruit flavored when cigarette and cigar companies can't do that anymore.
Right.
It'll catch up to them.
Yeah.
Apparently we're all parents here, and then parenting comes into play.
He knew where I was going with that. Where are the parents?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
His friends are doing it.
He's vaping. He's not smoking.
Not to get into this whole thing, but my 10-year-old's friends are playing Fortnite, and they shouldn't be playing Fortnite.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, you should know. Well, your kids are too old. You should see if your grandsons are playing. They might be.
I'm going to ask.
It's like a video game it's a violent video game that everyone's playing. It's so popular that when Drake was playing it, it was trending on social media that he was playing the game.
Oh.
It's insane.
I don't like that.
My 15-year-old nephew is playing. I don't know, he might be old enough.
It's difficult, though, because they get it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're playing
it
at
play
their
on the
friends
phones
or on
now.
their phone. Yeah, or they're at school.
Right. It's a big thing now.
Yeah.
It just came out. Like they're playing in school. Like they have to, the teachers
They
have
can
to-
play in school on their phone? Is that
My
the
son
deal?
has his phone with him all the time. I don't get that. They should check it at the door.
Right. Why do you have to, why do you need your phone?
Yeah,
in
for
your
the
class?
classes, just in the classroom. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have it. And I
Right,
understand
right.
we're in a different world, safety-wise today, maybe.
But if class is boring, you want to be able to have something else to do.
Why couldn't you
Pull
just
up your
throw
Fortnite,
spitballs?
get your score up. Yeah.
Oh boy, that's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's tougher and tougher. I'm nervous about. My kids are young, so I'm nervous about as they get older how to navigate through this stuff.
Yeah, you got to figure out how to put filters on your home internet.
I just threaten them with violence. Yes.
That's his answer to everything.
Yes.
Nothing
I want to
speaks
punch
louder
him. I'm
than
going to
blood.
hit him.
I will crush your phone.
Listen to that. Nothing
that-
speaks louder than blood.
There you go.
I am going to use that so much throughout this show.
I love it, right?
Yeah, really.
Fear of God into them.
That's right.
All right. After Seth's done beating with his kids, we'll keep going. Seth, give us the next story.
I have a hammer with your phone.
I got it.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to smash your phone to pieces. Okay. You don't even have phones yet, see? But his friends all do. They're 10.
Oh, my
No, you're not getting a phone. You're getting a flip phone. Yes. Call an emergency.
Get him
A
the
ladybug
jitterbug.
phone. Like ladybug was the kind of insect, wasn't it? The jitterbug.
Oh, I like
where all
that.
they can do is call
Yeah,
home.
they can only call home in 2 other numbers.
I like that. Let's give
Like
him-
I fell, like the doctor.
No, I was giving him a megaphone to carry in his backpack. Just
They
call
got
me on a megaphone.
dominoes and yeah.
I need stitches. I need stitches. Great. I'll be right there.
Oh, what a good guy you are.
Yeah, I'm the best. There you go. The viral condom snorting challenge is a dangerous idea.
Oh, I saw this.
Here's why you should never put a condom up your nose.
Wait, who puts one of... When I read these things, I get physically ill. Why would you stick a condom
You
up your
should see.
nose?
I saw a visual on social media yesterday.
I have to say, I have not seen this. No, I don't think I want to.
One side hanging out one nostril, going up through the nasal passage, and the other part coming down the other like this.
Oh,
Nasal floss.
that's awesome. I use like a nasal cleanser that goes one in one nostril out the other, but I think it's good for me. Yeah, I don't know
Neti
about this.
pot. That's a
Yeah.
neti pot.
Exactly.
This is a.
Okay, well, the condom challenge is dangerous.
She's a doctor. Let her read this one to her. We want to get her opinion. We want your opinion on
Condom
this.
It's a-
challenge.
You want to read it? You can read it if you want.
go ahead.
It's a dangerous years-old dare that involves sticking an unwrapped condom up one nostril and inhaling it until it hopefully reemerges into the person's mouth. Oh, from mouth to nostril. Gross. Super dangerous idea. Not only immediate choking hazard, which that just a side note, choking hazard's a phrase we use in our house a lot. Because we have a 2-year-old and my 4-year-old's always like, choking hazard, choking hazard. He's always screaming it out. He's like, I can't give her this choking hazard because he wants it for himself.
Right.
Yeah. But condoms can also get stuck and cause more long-term damage. You think? It's like chemical, rubbery.
But it says unwrapped.
These are the kids eating pods, the laundry pods.
Oh, the Tide Pod Challenge is, again,
Same
parents. Like,
party.
yeah. If I see my kid with a Tide Pod Challenge, he's going to have a fist in the face challenge.
Right,
Like,
right.
yeah, Sorry. I don't know. It's more metaphorically. Maybe not. But why? I don't understand.
Because the internet, well, did you read? There was one, and I don't remember, this was a year ago, where this guy, it was some really big challenge where these kids had to do like 12 steps to prove how tough they were. One was like burn yourself, cut yourself,
God.
and then kill an animal.
What?
And they went up in degrees. And they said it's because they're building they're trying to mentally control kids by teaching them how tough they are. It was amazing when I read it. It was like a year ago. I was like, oh my God, this is so sick. I don't want anybody. I keep saying my son they're very good about it. They don't let their kids just peruse the internet.
No, you can't. And here's real quick. The nose is designed to be the body's air filter, cleaning the air you take in before it lands in the lungs and adding moisture to it along the way. It's a delicate system that's not designed to take in condoms.
It's disgusting.
I think that should be common sense, but and that's it for headlines and headaches.
All right, so then we've got mail, and mail's in. Is mail in? Mail's in.
Yes, it just got delivered.
All righty.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day. All right, email number 1. Dear One Tough Mother, I have a sticky situation to ask you about. I have condoms in my nose. No, I'm just kidding.
Gross.
My neighbor of 22 years owns a home repair company. He builds decks, remodels houses, does replacement windows, and more. You name it, the guy does it. He is super talented. Well, last fall, Bert saw me standing on my porch looking around. He walked over and asked me what I was up to. So I showed him that the floorboards were starting to rot and that steps were getting wobbly and beginning to pull away from the porch. He said, "Hey, neighbor, that's no big deal. We'll take care of this for you immediately. Why would you ask anyone else? It only takes us 3 days and we'll give you our friends and family discount." I instantly took him up on his offer and told him to let me know immediately what he needed to start. Well, that all happened in the beginning of September, and no work was ever done. In fact, I reminded him a couple of times last fall, and he said I was his next job, but nothing happened. Well, now it's March, spring, and summer are coming, and we want our porch fixed now. I saw Bert yesterday, and I yelled, "Hey, Bert, how you doing?" He threw up his hand and quickly walked into his house without saying a word. It seemed he was either in a rush or avoiding me. Now my question, should I just walk over to his house, knock on the door, and ask Bert point blank if he's still interested in doing the job, or should I just contact someone else? My wife thinks that since we've been neighbors for over 20 years that he'll be offended if I hire someone else. I think he'll be relieved. What do you think?
I think you walk over and knock on the guy's door. Shannon?
I think he's telling you already he doesn't want to do the job.
Right.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But if you're just your neighbor for 20 years, guy to guy, men are different. I'm from the Northeast. I know you're from Minnesota, but
Detroit, though, where I went to undergrad.
Okay,
med
so
school,
you know what I'm
residency.
saying. This,
call it out.
Yeah, we just say like, dude, are you gonna do this or what?
Right.
I mean, it'd be that simple. Like, I don't think guys with this kind of stuff get emotional, but if you don't address it, then it's gonna fester and you're gonna start getting pissed and you're gonna end up like throwing snowballs at his house or something.
I was going to say this sounds like every other contractor I've ever worked with. Though, really, so
Right. Absolutely.
They never say no.
Yeah. No, it's true. But you know what happens with me is, and I have a lot of professional people like that do construction and stuff that are friends of mine, and actually my builder is a very dear friend of mine. I don't like to ask them. I don't, because of this, and because it's
don't
like they
interfere
always
friends and stuff.
They always say to me, "Oh, Karen, no, dude, I'll take care of it for you. I'll take care of it." And then I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, and then I get pissed off because I'm like, "Well, are you coming? Are you not coming? Should I be calling somebody?" So now I don't even ask them. I don't, even if they come over and they be like, "Hey, Karen, what are you doing?" I'll say, "I'm fixing this," or "That's got to be fixed." They'll be like, "Yeah, I'll take care of that." No, dude, it's okay. I already called somebody. I lie.
I got the answer, and I know what to do. You go up to him and say, "Obviously, you're a little too busy for this. Can you recommend someone else to do it for me? I don't want to." And it's all cool, and I got no hard feelings. But can you recommend someone else? Don't tell me.
That's a good one.
Don't tell me you're gonna do it. If you start saying, "Oh no," it's like, "No, it's okay, dude. I know you're busy, and I know you mean well." But just can you recommend someone else? That's
all right. Yeah. Okay, I agree with you on that one.
And move immediately.
And then move immediately.
Yes. Get out of my neighborhood. I don't like you anymore, Bert. Okay.
Bert.
All right, let's move on. Email number 2. Dear OTM, is it wrong to ignore someone you hate or don't like? I have a girl in my class I really don't like. She bullies other kids, pushes everyone around, and thinks she is cool. She never really talked to me before, but for some reason now she started with me. She started with me. She says stuff like, "Hey, what's your name? Why are you always looking at me?" Or, "Hey, didn't anyone ever tell you it's rude to ignore people?" I know this is going to explode because I've seen her do this with other kids. She's so messed up. I just avoid or ignore her, but for some reason she takes my staying quiet and ignoring her as a threat. What should I do? Signed, 6th grader.
Ignore her until it gets out of hand and then tell the teacher.
It's a tough spot.
Or tell your mother. You have to. You know what? This is the deal. It is a very tough spot. And we've all been in this spot. I mean, there's been people. And she sees the pattern. Smart girl, by the way. Or I guess it's a girl, but smart kid. Sees the pattern of what this girl's doing. And the girl's not getting attention anymore from the people she bullied. Or it's boring. Or she's over it. Now she's going to bully you. Go to somebody about it. That's my suggestion.
Now, if they can find common ground, though, sometimes you find, like, if he approached her and was like, "Hey, do you want a piece of gum? Hey, you want a piece?" She might just soften right now and think, "Oh, good, he does really like me."
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe
right?
she's afraid he doesn't like her.
You know, it's funny. We know these people in our lives that have that personality that just everyone likes them. Mm-hmm. They're one person who gets along with every group, and you know, and we'd all like to be that. I was not that person, but we all admire that person, especially later in life. You realize like it's hard, it's tough to teach a 6th grader that to either kind of have it naturally or you don't.
And you don't want to peak in 6th grade. That's what I tell my kid. I'm like, if you're really, really the favorite in high school, and you kind of peak too soon,
I like
you're
that.
A disappointment at the reunion. So give them something to look forward to.
That's me at the 30th anniversary. Oh, remember Seth? He had hair. Oh man.
Well, or what is our suggestion to her? Just talk to somebody about it, right? Don't let it.
Or
just
try
go.
to be
nice.
Try to be nice.
Yeah.
You kill them with kindness, right?
Gum.
Gum's a big one.
Bring food.
Doctor says gum.
Fortnite.
Food is big.
Just fun. Say, hey, we should play Fortnite sometime.
Oh God.
Yeah. There you go. 6th grade's a perfect age.
Somebody
for
turn off his mic.
It's probably really good advice. Okay. Last email of the day. Dear One Tough Mother, I hate Facebook. I used to be on it a lot. I talked to all my friends, bought things online, and liked following other people. But 7 months ago, because of my ex-boyfriend, I had to deactivate my account. But I have a question. Last week on your show, you said you could never really quit or delete Facebook. What do you mean?
You can't. No. First of all, you have to understand, and I've always said this to my kids because my kids grew up as computers were really becoming popular. Once you push enter on a computer, it lives and breathes forever. It goes from your computer to a central server somewhere in this country. I know the central server for the East Coast, because I had to deal with this in a lawsuit years ago, is in Virginia. So it goes through a central server there. Now, I'm sure there's, since that lawsuit many, many years ago, there's probably 10 times more central servers around, but it's going to live and breathe somewhere, and it will be able to be tracked down at some point. The same with text messaging on your phone, which people didn't realize and didn't know when I found that out from a lawsuit. When you text message somebody on your phone, again, it's going through a central server somewhere. Verizon has a cloud. The cloud is not owned by Verizon. It's owned by somewhere else. So all of that stuff is floating around, and it can be retrieved. And it has been retrieved for lawsuits. So you got to be careful what you put out there. And if you think that you delete your Facebook, you turn our Facebook off, you take your profile down, you get your files from Facebook, whatever the case may be, dude, whatever you wrote on Facebook prior to all the stuff that you did to get off of Facebook is going to be there.
Frightening.
Yeah.
It's a little good thing that we didn't have social media when I was a kid.
Me too.
Tell me about it. I would have been in trouble. I think for her deactivating her account, I don't know how deep she wants to go, but nobody can look at, the average person's not going to see your stuff or anything anymore when you deactivate. So
right.
I think maybe she's a little worried about that. I think if you're deactivated for a regular person, you should be okay.
Right. Well, she was asking about last week because I said that last week.
And there are other things you can do also. If you enjoyed Facebook, you can block people. We know this. You can block people from seeing your stuff. So if this boyfriend's bothering you online or anything, you can easily block them. Right.
Yeah. Well, just again, this is just a precautionary situation or precautionary comment. Please, whatever you put on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, any of those things, No, they can and will be searched if there's need to be, and there's no way that you can deny them, honestly, because I've been through things where it's amazing that people have your information.
Or just don't do anything stupid online.
Yeah, I mean,
I know we're young and we all would have done, like you said, you're glad it wasn't around when you were younger, doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of keyboard confidence. People say and do things with the confidence of a keyboard and the anonymity, but then it's out there.
It's like even safer than like, when you get mad when you're driving, because we all of a sudden we have this like couple tons of steel with us. We feel real strong. We're driving and everybody gets road rage. But this is like even easier.
Yeah.
Because then they got that person who challenges you on the road, and then all of a sudden it's scary.
Yeah, it's watch what you say, watch what you do. Just don't put things out there just to put them out there. Just know that. And calling somebody out or being a bully or any of that stuff, it's going to be there. It's there. Not
to open up a whole nother conversation, but this is kind of stuff I think schools need to start talking about curriculum-wise, about the pitfalls and the dangers of doing things online and everything. It's like life lessons.
Kids in general are more unhappy. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's attributed to social media, because people who are excluded or view their life as boring or uneventful, or that they're unliked, they see all this false performance of this perfect life being played out on the screen of social media, and it contributes to depression, especially among adolescents. But there's times even when I see it, I go, why didn't I get invited to that? Makes you feel bad.
I agree with you, and that's why we have to be careful with our kids' social media.
Right. So today's Mother Says is, and it's actually a quote by Oprah.
Oh, I love Oprah.
Odd. I brought up Oprah. So it says, "You get in life what you have the courage to ask for." True story. Right?
Yep. Don't be afraid.
Right? Because everybody has a problem with the ask. But you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. So go out there and ask. And you never know what you're going to get. Thank you, Dr. Klingman.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming from Minnesota. What a fun thing. I'm going to go to Minnesota and see what it looks like.
I've been there.
Is it fun?
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
I've been to Detroit
10,000 lakes. 10,000 lakes.
I took my mom to the Mayo Clinic, and I pulled over just to look at the stars. She was scared to get out of the car. My mom was like, she actually was mad later that she didn't get out of the car. I said, I just wanted to get out and look at the sky. It was just, unbelievable.
I went to Detroit and drove up and down 8 Mile.
I love Detroit too.
That's what I did. That was my big.
And you put your hood on and started rapping.
No, I had an appointment. I had to go talk to somebody in Detroit, and that was my whole game plan, was to take that car and just drive up and down 8 Mile just so I could say I did it. Because I love Eminem. Anyway, it's been a great show. Thank you, Dr. Klingman. Everybody check out Lume. Lume. It's great stuff. I love it. I'm using it. Seth, come over and sniff it and see if I smell. Talk to you, everybody, soon. Have a good week.